My skin has been through a lot. I have been dry, just like those socks that you left in front of a fireplace for a little bit too long and then they started to singe at the edges. And I have also had extraordinarily oily skin, to the point that my forehead and T-zone has looked like the slicked back hairstyles of the early 1900s, where people would literally grease and comb back their hair. My skin has been through a lot, but in a weird, kind of cathartic way, it's reassuring to know I'm not the only one. Some of our beautiful butterflies out here have been struggling with oily skin, and you've been mentioning it on the Discord and the Patreon and in our live stream chats and the YouTube video premieres when these go live if you join the chaotic comment section. Oh, is it chaotic? But when it comes to combination skin, what is it? How do you know if you actually have it? And then how do we take care of it? And combination skin is kind of what it sounds like. It is skin that has areas that are drier and areas that are oilier. So you could literally have two different skin types in the same face. Now there is a catch to this because skin types are not technical medical terms. You cannot be diagnosed with oily skin or dry skin. There is a Fitzpatrick photosensitivity scale that speaks about how your skin may respond to light and to other forms of damage or treatments such as chemical peels, but that is very different from having oily versus dry skin. The oily, dry skin combination / normal skin archetype really came from marketing. When people were searching decades upon decades ago for products mainly in department stores, these brands created these skin types to help people identify which products and which ingredients would work best for them. Knowing your skin type and what influences it and which ingredients do and don't work for it can be very helpful to find products that are best for you, but do keep in mind that it is not an exact quantifiable science the way that something like the Fitzpatrick scale is. Now with all of that being said, how do you know if your skin type is dry or oily? What exactly does that mean? Here's a little diagram of your skin, and as you know, the epidermis is the top layers of the skin that we can actually see. And when we have dry, flaky skin, it often gets dry up here. It flakes off, it's crusty, you can feel it. And when you have oily skin, these oil glands right here are actually producing so much oil, they're coming up through this little hair shaft and lubricating the top of the skin. But sometimes they can do so in a way that makes us feel greasy and uncomfortable. And when you're combination, for most people, this usually means that you have dry patches in some areas and oily in the others. Usually the oiliness is around the T-zone, so the forehead, the nose, and the chin, whereas the dryness is usually on the cheeks and sometimes the jawline, or even around the delicate skin of the eyelids. But how do you know if you have it? Well, if that description sounds like you, then maybe you do. But you can also do what I like to call the shower test. And this is something that I advise a ton of people to go home and do to kind of see how their skin responds when they don't have anything on it. Get into the shower and wash your face without any special cleansers. No oil cleansers, no foaming cleansers, no stripping cleansers, just pretty much water. Make sure that it's clean. And it's best to do this on like day 2 or 3 of not wearing makeup, right? Just get the sunscreen off, wake up in the morning, wash the face. When you get out of the shower and you dry off, how does your skin feel? Does it feel tight, almost like it's slicked back on your face and feels like tissue paper? Or when you run your fingers across, does it feel like cookie dough? Does it kind of have a little bit of tackiness to it? Or does it just feel like really softball, soft skin? Like it's not overly dry and overly tight, but it's not overly slicked back and doesn't have kind of like a sheen to it. Well, if you're on the tissue paper tight side, this probably means that you have dry skin. If you're over here and it feels like cookie dough, it's a little bit buttery, you probably have oily skin, and it's those oils on the skin that you are feeling. And if you're somewhere in the middle, you probably have combination skin, especially if you have this on one part of the face and this on another. So now, what are we supposed to do about it? You see, combination skin can actually be one of the most difficult skin types to deal with, because you can use products like clays and salicylic acid and more drying products to help get rid of the oil. And when you're dry, you can literally use things like humectants and hydrators and oils to lock moisture into the skin. But when you're dealing with both, you probably have tried a bunch of products, none of which work for you. So here are a few things for combination skin that actually help. And yes, there are some tools as well as some ingredients, but first let's talk about a little trick that I've actually been doing for years called multimasking. I first tried multimasking years ago, and as someone who is oily and acne prone, but I do have some bouts of dryness, this has helped me get through so many winters. Multimasking is the idea of using multiple face masks on different parts of your face. And you can do this by concern, so like if you have acne some areas versus hyperpigmentation on others, or you can do this if you have dryness versus oiliness, and that's what I love to do. You can literally use any 2 face masks that you want, but find one that is targeted towards oily skin, so that usually has clays in it to help wick away oil, and one that is targeted towards dry skin that is more hydrating, maybe even something that could be left on like a sleep mask. Two that I absolutely love are from Dermalogica. These are a little more expensive, but I love these. This right here is the sebum clearing mask. This is so good, especially for my oily T-zone. And then this right here, the mask hydro exfoliant. This makes me feel like one of those kids in the McDonald's playpens, but like as an adult who spent like $70 on skincare. I love this. I like a panda Cassandra in a McDonald's playpen. This is amazing. This hydro mask exfoliant has a couple of little bamboo beads, and they're kind of like these bursting sphericals in them. And then it has this nice hydrating formula all around it. Oh my gosh, this is so good if you have dry skin and need exfoliation. Because a lot of people with dry skin, they do need the exfoliation, but a lot of exfoliating products are more dehydrating to the skin, and so it can actually make the dry skin worse. This actually exfoliates while it hydrates. It is so good, and it has like these little, oh my God, they're like these little bubbles. Like if you like bubble wrap, you will love this. And they pop and they have these little bamboo particles that go in and gently exfoliate the skin. I love it so much. These are two of my favorites, but Juice Beauty also has some great masks. Pacifica Beauty has some great ones. I'm also a huge fan of some K-Beauty options. Peach and Lily has some good face masks. There are many that you can choose from, and the most important thing is to find something that works for you. But look for things that say oil control on those oily areas, which again is usually the T-zone, or some of those more hydrating products for the dry areas, especially those that are maybe around the mouth or kind of here on the cheek and chin. Oh, should I be wiping this on the carpet again? Oh, I loved you, poppy pop, pop, pop. Oh, I got two more. Yes. Yes, come to mama. We also have to talk about a few tools and treatments. Now, there are no specific tools that I know of that will literally fix dry skin or fix oily skin. If anyone is selling you that, they're lying to you or they just don't know better. But there are some treatments and some therapies that are great for skin that have been shown to help with oil production or help decrease dryness in the skin. And LED is one that does both. Now, there's actually a lot of science behind LED. LED stands for light emitting diode, and light at certain wavelengths can actually penetrate into the skin and do things like help with wound healing or stimulate special cells in our skin called fibroblasts, which actually help to create and produce more collagen. LED is one of my favorites. Red LED is usually used for collagen building and for wound healing, whereas blue LED is usually used for acne. There's also green, there's purple, there's amber, there's a couple of other modalities as well. But I freaking love this stuff as someone who's struggled with acne. Of course, in a derm or aesthetic clinic or in a spa, you can get much more powerful LEDs, but this is one that I love at home. Another great option is the Dr. Dennis Gross face mask. You always want to get one that actually has more rounded edges, so it's dispersing the light and actually putting it onto the skin and then protecting the eyes. That's very important, especially if this is going to be potent enough to work for the skin. We need to protect the eyeballs. But LED has tons of benefits for skin, and some studies have actually shown that it's also beneficial when it comes to oil production or with helping dryness. There was a specific study that showed that the use of LED actually helped mitigate dryness in the skin, so basically helped the skin rebuild its own barrier and kind of even out some of that dryness and even a little bit of texture. And then in the same study, as well as others, it actually showed that LED helped to regulate oil production. So if people were too oily, it helped to bring that oil down. But if people were too dry, it helped to repair the skin barrier so that the skin could actually hold its own moisture better. So that, of course, is not definitive, and there are around 3 studies that I know of that have shown similar results. That is not something that is across the board. So if you already have LED, absolutely consider using this in certain areas and seeing if that helps you. If you've always wanted to try it and you believe you have combination skin, go for it. But I would recommend something like multimasking or trying to get your skin barrier into a happy place first. And in order to do that, that's the third thing we have to talk about, is helping to heal our skin barrier. Because as we spoke about, our skin is this amazing anatomical structure that covers our entire bodies. But if these oil glands are producing too much oil, we get slick. And if they're producing not enough, this entire barrier can be damaged. It can be open. You know, bacteria, viruses, pathogens can get into our skin, which we do not want. The skin is part of our integumentary system, so it's literally supposed to prevent that from happening. So what we can do is actually look for products to help rebuild a skin barrier or to help mitigate oil production, and I have a couple of favorites. When it comes to repairing a damaged skin barrier, you want to do 2 things. You want to be mindful when cleansing and be mindful when hydrating. Number 1, don't use overly stripping cleansers, and number 2, don't be afraid of moisture. So especially if you're dry, don't use an overstripping cleanser. A lot of people who are combination, they see the oiliness, dryness, they don't like it, and so they use a cleanser that strips their face. And that just exacerbates the dryness in certain areas. And then other times, people who feel that oiliness, they avoid moisturizers because they think that they're oily and it's gonna make them greasy. But moisturizers can be your friend when used correctly. And especially if you're dry, that's something you want to go for. The best thing you can do is do both responsibly. So try not to use an overly foaming or overly stripping cleanser. A nice gentle cleanser is a great way to go. And especially if you are combo, the double cleanse method can be perfect, using an oil cleanser first and then using a regular cleanser to follow up, especially if you have something like acne or rosacea or pigmentation. Look for cleansers that actually treat those things as your second follow-up cleanser. Then when it comes to moisturizers, Vaseline is amazing for super dry people. You could multi-moisturize on certain areas of the face, but you might want to look for something that has ingredients such as petrolatum or such as ceramides, but puts them in a lightweight formula. One of my favorite products that I've literally been using, it's in my skincare routine and I fucking lost it. I literally tried to search for it for like 30 minutes and I can't find it. It's my PSL moisturizer from Medicure. That's the one I've been using, and PSL does not stand for pumpkin spice latte, but this moisturizer has a lot of the oils, the ceramides, the cholesterol, and fatty acids that our skin naturally produces, but it's in a nice lightweight formula. And it's perfect for people who have combo skin, for people who have areas that are oily and areas that are dry. And the reason why is because it helps build back a barrier. If you are super dry, these are two that I would recommend, but I feel like these would be a little bit much for people who are oily and dry combination, which is why the PSL moisturizer is really a perfect balance. Another great one is this from Jumiso. This is the Waterful Cream. This is a nice lightweight texture. It's kind of like a gel, but because it has hyaluronic acid among other hydrating ingredients, it also works for dry skin. So if you're someone that doesn't like the feel of like a thick moisturizer on your skin, this one can be wonderful. Another excellent option is a sunscreen. This is one that is perfect for combo skin. It's from Skin 1004. This is the Hylusika Water Fit Sun Serum. This is so good. It's SPF 50, but this is a nice watery hydrating sunscreen that doesn't feel thick on the skin. It goes in so invisibly, but it doesn't exacerbate oily skin. Like I love this from Biossance, but because this is made with squalane, it can kind of give you a little bit of a greasy glow, whereas this hydrates the skin, it hydrates the dry portions, but it doesn't overly suffocate or exacerbate the oily portions either. Something else you can look for is good old niacinamide. Niacinamide is that vitamin B3, and it's also known to help regulate sebum production, sebum being the oil in your skin. So if you have too much, it helps bring it down. If you have too little, it helps bring it up. Just the way the LED mask does. Very similarly, niacinamide has been known to help. Now, there's different options. I obviously love the Ordinary's niacinamide and zinc, but I would recommend that for people who are a little bit more oily because the zinc PCA is a little bit better for those who are more greasy in the skin. If you want something that's great for combo skin, this one right here from Good Molecules, it is excellent. It's formulated with 10% niacinamide. It really helps reduce the look of pores. This is beautiful. If you want a K-beauty option, this was one of the best K-beauty products of 2022. This is the TM Vita B3 Source. It used to look like this. Now it looked like this. This is also so wonderful because this has niacinamide to help even out the skin, but it doesn't have like an overly greasy feeling to it. And it doesn't leave the skin feeling dehydrated, dry, or chalky either, because sometimes niacinamide products can leave you feeling a little bit chalky. You also need to be very patient when it comes to combination skin. It can be hard, but like you're literally trying to rebalance your skin. Your skin is doing what it's doing for whatever reason, and you're literally trying to tell it to do one thing in one area and do something else in another area. So it can be difficult, but patience and actually taking before and after pictures can be so helpful, because when we look in the mirror every day, it's really hard to see progress. When I had my acne at its worst, I would look in the mirror every day, I'd pick my face, and as it was getting better, I wasn't even realizing because I was so fixated on my blemishes day in and day out. But when I started taking pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually see a ton of improvement versus this time 6 months ago. Or, ooh, like my back acne, really freaking out right now as compared to a year ago. What did I do differently that might be contributing to this? So actually taking that photographic evidence, I know it can be really hard, especially if it's hard to look at yourself in the mirror. It's also hard to take pictures and keep them on your camera roll, but at least in my opinion, it is so helpful as an esthetician who helps other people to actually see what they've gone through and how they have been able to use products or treatments to find improvement. Or even for myself, like it was so hard when I was taking those photos. But then as I started to do it more and more, I would look back and I was like, wow, I'm so happy that I took those, because it shows me how strong and resilient I was and how scared I was of my own skin. And now that I understand it, I can embrace it a little bit more, even when I do have my little breakouts. So if you're dry or oily or anything in between, I've listed some of my favorites below, as well as in the YouTube pokey button. I'm going to poke this right onto my face because this is one of my favorite face masks. I'm just gonna schlep this all over my face tonight. we are gonna have a great, great time. You're a skintellectual, congratulations. I still want you to stay hydrated, both orally and topically. I always want you to reapply your SPF. I do love this hydrating one, especially for winter. And I always want you to be beautiful, meaning bring your own beauty, your own unique opinions and perspectives into this world, and do something amazing with the gifts that you've been given. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you when I am not wearing this face mask in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.